World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. We are looking at an exciting game between Japan and USA women. Brought to you, commentators up in the box, we have Cole Fink and Joy Lee. Enjoy this game.
Thanks, Huss, and what a matchup we've got here. USA undefeated in this tournament so far versus Japan, another top-level team in the women's division.
Absolutely, Joy, and the conditions today are very, very trying. It is blowing a gale at times here in Perth. The Fremantle Doctor is the local wind. It's the name for the local wind. Often picks up in the afternoon, and it has been very strong, so expect to see.
Straight into the action here. USA receiving the pull, and we've got Verjou with the disc.
Very excited to see Jacqueline Verjou taking the field here. She is a monster and managing a stress fracture in her foot, but she's here playing against the Japanese.
Trop to Henkin there. US with only a few more meters to work it into their end zone. This is the first point of the match. And the wind just taking that little bobbly one up, and Japan now with the first chance.
So Japan are going to be working this into a very stiff breeze. This is going to be tough going for them with the disc, but they have incredible skills, as we know. Japan, traditionally a very technical country in Ultimate Frisbee. They have phenomenal disc skills. And at the moment, the USA preventing them from making any forward progress. Japan happy to keep moving the disc around, resetting the stall count. Akagi with the disc. Japan. She moves it across to Ishida.
Japan keeping their players quite short in the field at the moment, close to the thrower. They're working upwind. Just a bit. Seems to be a pick called on field.
So the discussion here would be, did that affect the play?
So I called a pick, but I think you kept playing. So
if the pick does not affect this play, then the turnover would stand.
did you stop playing? Okay.
So the turnover should stand in that case.
You can hear that audio from game advisor Steve Baker there. Players with a good knowledge of the rules in that case. Turnover stands. Zhu to Trope down the line. US have found their structured offense straight away after that turnover. Werfeli, lovely swing there and a huge grab, nice. Just securing that. Verjou to Werfeli. Seeing some very calm offense right away in this first point.
Werfeli certainly looks composed with the disc, Joy, as she cuts up line.
First goal of this match. Claire Trope. A few Sorry, Cole. A couple of matches here so far that we've seen and have been available on the live stream. Claire Trope, what a sensation. Very young player, but quite dominant already.
Yeah, she just looks so composed, Joy. At just 18 years of age, it seems like there's no situation on the ground that phases her. There's no situation you can put her in where she looks to panic. She is an incredibly composed player. As we see a replay of Jacqueline Verjou getting horizontal to scoop that disc up and maintain possession. And Werfeli with a quick upline cut and finding Trope open in the end zone. The US hold to start the match. It's 1-0, and the Japanese now will be trying to move their offense downwind.
What I really love about both these teams actually is you can see Verjou, they're laying out for that disc to secure it, but completely within her capabilities, completely calm. These teams, I feel, play within themselves, but what capabilities they are. And so a 70% from a Japanese or USA team is more than 100% of many, many teams. US with the pull, right to left on your screens.
So Ikeda centers. The Japanese running a relatively traditional for them, what I would describe as a J stack. And they've turned it early in this point. The wind just getting on top of that disc and forcing it down.
Now it's the US's turn to work upwind. Alba Delcorum with the disc in central position. USA being forced backwards for the time being. Not a problem though as Strick takes that possession. Little backwards maneuver, resetting. Japanese players here playing match defense, 1-on-1. Oh, and just a slightly casual perhaps, one-handed catch. But providing Japan another chance.
I think the wind is going to be the story of this game, Joy. It is really blustery and blowing strongly left to right across our screens, but not consistently. It's picking up and dropping again, moving left and right for the players as we see a strike to the end zone. Will it sit? Nope. Out the back, and unfortunately, Shiori Ogara unable to get the clamps on that one, and the US again will be working the disc upwind from their defensive end zone.
Huge inside-out flick, forehand throw effort there from Japanese player. The Japanese do, of course, like to play in their signature style. Lots of shorter, quick passes, lots of movement of the disc. That was quite a long one. Didn't fire off.
Oh, that was nearly a Callahan. Adel Karim just misfired with that backhand as she released it, and it went directly to the Japanese player, who has managed to milk a little dishy into the end zone, and the Japanese hold. The score is 1-all.
Japan on the board, which will be a confidence booster for them.
So I was speaking to Japanese assistant coach Moe Samashima before this match. She said that their strategy defending against the US today would be to try to force the Americans to make a lot of throws, and that they would try to make them use the width of the field. So they're going to try and take away those deep looks and moves downfield and make them work the disc side to side. On offense, I said, Moe-san, what is your plan? And she said, it's simple, gyan gyan. And gyan gyan is apparently Japanese for go, go, go. So their intention is to move the disc very quickly on offense, very rarely let the stall count get started, and they'll look to use their Japanese smarts. Often that inside break will be the look that they'll go for, and we'll see if they can confuse the American defense with that strategy.
Right, it's gyan gyan from the Japanese. The American approach when chatting to their staff. Quite consistent game to game. They're focusing on the simple things, they said. Simple tenets of offense and defense. They've done their research, though, on this Japanese team. US and Japan, traditional but friendly rivals at World Championship events many times over. So Werfele with the disc right now. Henkin to Knowles. Strong, confident moves here from US. Schmaltz to Henkin, to Knowles. Oh, my apologies, to Douglas here. US content here to throw a number of passes, not getting too flustered. And there, it pays reward. No misfires there, all patience. Goal USA.
Yeah, they look very composed on offense there. The Japanese were doing their best to make the US throw a lot of throws, and the US seemingly quite happy to do so. That would have been at least 20 throws, I'd imagine, to move the disc downfield, and particularly once they reached the end zone, they didn't rush anything and they waited for the right option to open up. Huss, what are you seeing down on the sidelines?
I'm seeing and I'm hearing. I've got a lot of noise down here on the sideline. The Japanese players are really communicating hard to each other, and so with the US. The Japanese were calling for inside, inside, inside. They were trying to take that inside away from the US team, which they successfully did, allowing a round break goal. So I'm not sure that the Japanese team will be that upset by that goal. They executed their plan. Sometimes your plan doesn't result in a turn, but if you're sticking to the plan in the long run, you will hopefully yield success.
Great, thanks, Huss. Good insight. And it definitely is a team sport, and it requires a team plan.
So here come the Japanese, working the disc downwind. Nakayama, the central O-line handler for the Japanese. Great grab. She just put that out a little further than her receiver would have liked it. And we've seen a difficult catch, unable to be brought in by Kaede Yoshida. Kaede is not a tall player. She's matched up against Jacqueline Verjou, although yesterday against the Australians, I saw her take a monster high grab against one of the tall Australian receivers, so she certainly has hops. The Americans now knocking on the door of this crucial upwind break. Oh, wow! Verjou's dragged it in. Yoshida was her opponent. It was a great contest, but Verjou has scored, and the Americans have broken the Japanese upwind, Joy.
What a highlight that was. Normal to Verjou there. Verjou athletically positioning her body first.
And a massive body it is too. She has a huge frame and she knows how to use it. And incredibly agile for such a big player too. Verjou is a weapon both with the disc and in front of it. And it's a real pleasure for us to see her taking the field. She has been spending the majority of her time here in Perth in a moon boot and on crutches with a minor stress fracture that she's managing. But Nancy Sun, one of the coaches of the Japanese team, told me that they cannot get through the heavy schedule of this tournament without using every player on the roster. So Verjou willing to put herself on the line, and it's paying dividends for the Americans. She's been central to a lot of their big plays, including that great grab in the end zone.
Yeah, there we have it. You saw that on the replay there. The US team have a lot of depth here, and key to that success is using the depth. So we're about halfway through this tournament, which is 6 days long, but already the US's team approach means using all the players and all the resources they have. We're just going to have a repull here.
It's not often seen, Joy, but what we've had is an offsides from the Americans, meaning that some of the players have crossed the end zone line before the pull was released. And that's indicated to the other team by our game advisor, Hannah Monty. And the Japanese have elected to request a repull, as is their right when offsides is committed.
Exactly right. So US here on defense. We've seen quite a lot of match one-on-one D so far in this game, but I think there may be a bit of zone pulled out eventually. It's match again for this point.
Yoshida crosses to Nakayama. Nakayama has beautiful flat flicks, a lot of rotation on the disc. And the Japanese, can they implement their Gyan style? That sounded like a bad K-pop reference. And that disc has sat up too high. Oh, and again, Kaede Yoshida getting up high. She plays like a tall player. And obviously the discussion here, who grabbed the disc first? If the disc is caught simultaneously by offense and defense, then offense takes preference. And the discussion here will be, did the American player control the disc first?
Too close for me as well. It was very close.
Okay, sorry about. Okay.
Can hear a bit of audio perhaps from the game advisors. Some language barriers perhaps in international matches, but that one quickly resolved. Back to thrower. You might be able to hear the US calling of home and away.
Oh, wow. That was a foot block from Danny Runzo, I think, Joy.
Quick movements there. Getting the D. Aldelkram trying to go up the line.
And an unfortunate drop. Carolyn Normile unable to secure that one in the wind. And the Japanese now with another opportunity to try to move the disc upwind. They're starting at about the halfway mark of this field. Swing out wide to Tajima. Tajima with a lovely look through to Yoshida, who uncorks an upwinder, and she has a receiver, Shiori Ogawa.
That was gorgeous. You probably couldn't, you definitely couldn't feel it, but maybe you didn't see it. Just as that throw was released, a huge puff of wind came through, but such was the control of the thrower. Sat up nicely for the goal scorer and goal Japan. Very nice.
I'll tell you what, Joy. The captain of the Japanese team, #1, Kaede Yoshida, is playing an absolute blinder at the moment. She's in everything, and we'll see here, she receives the pass up line and immediately uncorks a cross-field flick huck, which uses the very considerable wind that you were just describing to her advantage and lands it in the lap of Shiori Ogawa. And the Japanese have managed an offensive hold up against the wind, and so here is their big opportunity for the D-line to try to force a turn and get this game back on level pegging.
We're here in beautiful Perth, West Australia. We've had sunshine every single day here. Today's slightly cooler than previous hot days, just a max of 29 with that constant wind, more prevalent in the afternoon. And today's a particularly windy day here in Perth. These teams handling it, putting on a clinic, really showing how top-level players can handle conditions. US on offense now with Zhu.
Oh, phenomenal grab.
Nguyen there.
Oh, no, it's down. Beg your pardon.
Oh, Nguyen there with the D, perhaps.
I think she did get a hand on that one, Joy. She made a minor error in catching the disc in these blustery conditions, and she wasn't happy with it. And she's done what she needed to do to get possession back for her team. Great effort. Nice
work switching the mind straight on defense. Zhu here, Werfley, full stretch. Nguyen gets this one forward. Bramovic. Henkin. Oh, a slightly low one. Nguyen not quite getting down. That one was shin height and seemed to sort of bounce off her legs.
It was a bit of a laser, Joy. I think the thrower worried about the wind, wanted to put as much spice on that throw as they could.
Oh, diving attempt at D there. Straight back up.
So here we have Inoue throwing to the end zone and a bit of contact there and a foul called by the Japanese receiver, Minori Ishida. It did look a slightly clumsy attempt from the American, though the throw that put them both in that position didn't look a great one either.
That was over there though, right? Well, it probably didn't affect here. We need to sort this out first. So do you speak English? So you are calling foul?
Discussion from this possession after a couple of highlights. Let's go down to Huss. Huss, what can you see on the sideline?
I'm feeling a lot of intensity on the sideline here. A lot of those throws that were made leading up to this moment.
Okay.
They really had to be made very firmly, and so every catch is really hard. I can really feel the difficulty that these players are facing, the combination of the wind and also the tight Japanese defense on the Americans, making every single catch contested.
Here. We check in, and she must move to the front to throw in.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to convey the real intensity that I'm feeling down here on the ground.
Thank you, Huss. Yeah, obviously easy for us up here in the commentary area, and easy on the screen as well. But we're coming back live here, Japan with the disc.
So the resolution has been an uncontested foul on the reception, and so the Americans showing great spirit. And that's a lovely inside look. Oh, the Japanese throwing skills are truly phenomenal. The window to put that in is unbelievable, and they know it. Look at them get around their players. That was lightning fast. I have no idea who even touched those discs, Joy. It was too quick to watch, and they love it. And that is the break back. They have managed to level the scores at 3 apiece, and we have a game on our hands. Look at this inside flick.
Lovely heads up there from the eventual goal scorer. Very quick. That's an extreme slow-mo there for people watching.
Indeed. It is Kanako Ishikawa is the thrower, and she hits her receiver, Minori Ishida.
The Japanese...
Both of them showing phenomenal skill. That inside flick look from Ishikawa is just a joy to watch.
Yeah, the Japanese style often seeming to release the throw into a waiting receiver's arms, even before they've sometimes turned around. They obviously train this style of playing day in, day out, but to defenders and sometimes to spectators, it's like they've got a sixth sense and real intuition about where the teammates are.
Yeah, it's not unlike American football. You'll sometimes, because in American football, the receiver and the quarterback often know exactly what the receiver's path is going to be. The quarterback will regularly release the ball in their direction before the receiver is even looking. And the Japanese are just so good at trusting each other and knowing what to expect that they will often throw a disc at a player who is not yet even looking.
Disc moving a bit up and down. The crab style catch there. Didn't quite get the job done.
Yeah, Jenny Wei unfortunately struggling with these trying conditions, and you've got a feel for all the players out there at the moment. The conditions are tough. Wow, that's a massive backhand hook brought in expertly. Marina Harada with the disc on the goal line. Can the Japanese maintain possession? The wind is howling a gale at their faces. Another phenomenal layout catch. Mika Yamauchi.
US defenders scrambling and playing some amazing tight person defense. Timeout Japan.
Oh, I needed a timeout, Joy. I'm too tense up here in the booth. What must it be like for the players on the ground? Wow, that was a phenomenal backhand laser upfield, and the catch, unbelievable. If the Japanese can secure an upwind break here, that would be a story. What can the Americans do defensively?
And I think we're just seeing a replay of the longer throw there from Japan. And in the short passing offense that followed, USA must have been feeling a little bit of deja vu. What happened at the other end? They must have been thinking scramble, 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 with the Japanese style being very comfortable with these tight spaces. Then they would have been doing their best. One of our supporters who are helping everyone, volunteers and players alike, do their best here. Spud Shed Fresh Food Market. They've been providing their donations of fruit to players and volunteers. Very much appreciated. Thanks very much.
I finished a Spud Shed apple just before the beginning of this broadcast. So thanks, Spud Shed. Appreciate your contribution to this incredible event. So the Japanese setting up in a J stack. It's a vertical stack with every single player in front of the disc. It's not a regular look for most European, North American or Pacific countries. And it creates opportunities like this, but the disc has sat a little high. And not quite. So Tulsa Douglas, I believe that was, that managed to get a hand up over the top, and she did well not to affect a foul.
Two looks for Japanese players there at the disc, just out of reach. Excellent D there from Douglas. A long shot straight off the bat. Just gets pushed down. Nice structure there, Cole, noted with the J stack. There was so much space on that side of the queue of players for the one Japanese runner to go out there in space, be isolated, and for the thrower to try and hit them.
Yeah, so what they do is they set up the J stack, and of course it creates this very clear open and break side space, and the defending team needs to decide which defenders are going to stand open side and break side. The Japanese have drilled and structured up so much. They know every combination.
Tip on the disc there from Wei, but
absolutely, that was close.
We're seeing some very intense, tight match D here. Japan will be wanting to move the disc laterally, and they're getting a bit of purchase here now. All those throws away from our side of the field are super difficult. The wind is going left to right, but also across the field. Oh, an athletic D from US there.
Jenny Wei, I think it was, with a massive bid, and she read that throw like a glove. What an effort. Angela Zhu is going to bring the disc back in for the Americans.
Zhu is looking long straight away, lofts that one up. Oh! Quick movement, and now Curtis with the disc. Looking for Normile. Normile makes a move. Moves the marker. The marker's all over the place here. Back to Zhu. Normile, very dominant. Nice and calm here. Seeing a lot of the disc. Douglas. Douglas with a nice wide pivot. Back to Normile. Douglas. Normile moving aggressively as soon as she's thrown. Oh! Normile moving very aggressively as soon as she's thrown that disc in front of the thrower, gets the goal.
Yeah, Normile with a wonderfully timed strike cut from the handler position there. And we saw a number of Japanese defenders, as soon as they saw that throw go up, they left their players and tried to get a poach block, but Normile with the sit, she was able to elevate and get the clamps on that disc, which in these blustery conditions is no small feat. So the USA, having just managed to effect a block in the end zone to prevent that crucial upwind break, have moved it back down the field and scored.
Let's go back down to Huss. She's got a bit of info for us.
I'm noticing that at the moment, the real advantage, the slight advantage that the US seem to be having and using over the Japanese team is their size. They're really playing that to their advantage. On defense, if the Japanese players stick a disc a little bit too high, they make sure they run it down and get their bodies in the way. And on offense, they're throwing their discs a little high in order to advantage their players in pulling them down before the Japanese players can get to them. I don't think that this will be the secret necessarily to their success, because the Japanese team are crafty and tactical and will overcome it if they can. Back to you.
Thanks, Huss. So the Japanese now picking up the disc through Yuki Nakayama. Another of those tight inside looks and a strike deep. The wind getting on top of that one. It hasn't sat up enough for the receiver. And so the Americans now with an opportunity to try to move this disc upwind. Shiori Ogawa never really in with a chance to catch that disc.
That one really bulleted down. So, well, the time difference, of course, with Perth, West Australia and viewers in the USA, for example. It could be quite late at night or early in the morning. Thanks for joining us. It's also really lovely to see quite a number of USA and Japanese spectators live here at this event, family perhaps or friends, as the pick's called. All that leads to a really special atmosphere here in Perth.
So the American stack at the moment, much deeper than you would typically want when you're moving up a stiff headwind. So let's see if they address that and try to create some more space over the top that they can throw into. Another pick called. They've got 3 handlers out and 4 cutters. In fact, you'd almost say they've got 4 handlers out and 3 cutters. That might be a deliberate strategy to create some space downfield.
Kayla Strick here. Oh, and Strick! What a pull down!
Never hurts to have luck on your side.
Runzo, as the wind comes up yet again, run through deep from Japan.
Natsumi Yoshida read Runzo's intent there, and she knew exactly where that disc was going to go. And she made sure that she was the first one to get to it. So the Japanese with possession back, and they'll be desperate to move this disc down into their attacking end zone. Wow, the wind is really getting on top of some of these discs. Tajima had to get a shovel out to control that one.
Yoshida fakes the hammer. Lovely,
Wow.
lovely touch there down the line. So hard to do.
Yoshida is a very impressive player. She really has it all. Defensively, incredible. Her hops are incredible, and her throws, amazing touch in this wind. And here she goes. That's Yoshida. She drew her defender away from the space that she wanted to attack and timed the cutback into that space to perfection. The Japanese holding serve there.
Clinical near the end zone that time, Japan. If it looks all too simple on your screens and it looks very clean and clinical here, it's much harder in person, I can assure you.
The Japanese are renowned for their training application. Their club teams in season will often train both days of the weekend, 8 hours a day, as we see Yoshida with a wonderfully timed cut for the score. It was thrown to her by Saori Yoshida. There are 3 Yoshidas on this team. And I must admit, I'm not sure if some or any of them are related. So that was a Yoshida to Yoshida connection. The Americans now with the wind at their backs, and they'll be looking to move the disc downfield and perhaps continue to engage their deep game, which they've shown no fear at this point in using. If I can read Alex Snyder's body language at all, it looks like a deep look to Jacqueline Verjou might be on the cards early in this point.
We'll see if your prediction is correct. The pool being upwind, it's just about halfway here. Verjou with the disc. And yeah, Cole, maybe you're right. Looking for Verjou there.
The Japanese have punted it upwind. It's sailing over. Oh, what a D! What a D! That was phenomenal. No physical contact whatsoever. That was an incredible read by number 44, Abby Abramovich.
That was truly phenomenal. And what was so particularly impressive is that it was so clean. Japan now setting a zone. Werfeli now right on the sideline. And a big one right through the cup. Looked like she wasn't interested at all in hanging around. Maybe the store count was getting a bit high. She sent one. She got a lot of purchase on that one. And here we're seeing a bit of a replay. What clean defense, and then avoids contact with the Japanese player. Very well done, Abramovich.
Yeah, I think that deep look, the thrower saw Abramovich's height disparity with her defender, and with the stall count climbing over 6 or 7, she thought, I'd rather get this down the other end of the field, and took a risky punt, which hasn't at this point paid off. So the Japanese with another opportunity. Let's see if their throwing skill and cutting prowess can get them down the field. And another deep look. It's a piece of pie. There's a number of players underneath it.
That time Werfeli gets the job done. Back into zone for Japan. Shoot with the disc. What will US do here? They've now gone into a bit of a spread zone offensive structure. Landry doing a bit of give-go movement there with Werfeli. Henkin to Zhu. To Abramovich. Across the field and then forwards. Now we've got Zhu looking for options. Not rushing. Lofted into the end zone. Oh! Wow, trusting her receiver. It's worked. It looked like she was trying to thread the needle there and throwing between 2 Japanese defenders. But her receiver definitely hasn't let her down there. And goal USA.
Yeah, that looked like a questionable throw choice when it left the hand, but it landed exactly where she wanted it. And
that was Abramovich there with the catch. Good work and a great point there from Abramovich.
Absolutely, that was a phenomenal effort, and the throw that got to Verjou was also wonderfully executed. Look at this catch as Abramovich gets horizontal. What a grab. She has bookends in that point. A crucial D followed up by a phenomenal grab and score. I think we'll see that one in her personal highlight reel for years to come. Great job, Abramovich.
Yeah, it's shout out to the crew of Ulti TV getting these highlights ready for the stream straight away. The score very close. It's been a close game all the way through. Japan 4, USA 5. Japan coming out on offense. They've got the downwind direction for this point. USA marking up extremely tightly. They're playing one-on-one matched defense.
So both teams have managed to take a break score away from their opponent, upwind. And so we're back on serve. The US started on offense, and that is a nicely placed throw. Beautifully weighted. The wind actually died down for just a moment, and the thrower did a great job to recognize that and put just the right amount of touch on that throw to make it beautifully catchable. And the Japanese looking relatively untroubled by the USA defense on that point. And I think
you'll often see teams here. Just before we saw Team USA, Japan winning this point, of course, getting the goal, which we're just seeing a bit of a replay of. Very nicely done.
So Ikeda with the throw, and expertly caught by Ogawa. That's her second goal for this game. She is doing great work in front of the disc.
And USA immediately after that, flooding the field with arms in the air. And some viewers might think, oh, well, it looks like they won that point. What's going on with their body language? Cole, can you maybe talk us through a little bit about the importance of team vibe and body language?
Absolutely, Joy. It's Ultimate is a mental game, and we train for months and years ahead of a tournament like this to get prepared. And yet, in the moment, the state of mind of every player in the team is as important as all that preparation put together. And so teams will employ a number of different strategies to try to keep themselves in the best possible mental state. And one of those is to celebrate every point, whether you score or not. And the USA careful to use great body language every time they take the field.
Zhu to Curtis going down. Oh, great hands here from Team USA. Wei securing it. There she's on the sideline. She wants to center it. It just popped up at the unfortunate time.
It must be a nerve-wracking. Wow, what a catch from number 4, Kanako Ishikawa. And again, the Japanese, their skills with the disc are truly phenomenal. You've really got a feel for these players out here. It must be a nerve-wracking experience to be in control of the disc with this wind facing them. But Ishikawa and her compatriots are doing a phenomenal job. Another of those crafty inside looks as Ishikawa launches it.
That's
it's
lovely
a nicely
touch.
placed throw, but it floats just over the top of her intended receiver, Minori Yoshida, and the Americans back in possession.
Resetting through Hansen and now Zhu. Zhu directing traffic here. Wei, useful central position. Back to Zhu. I bet Team USA feel very comfortable with the disc in hand of Zhu as she sends one long. It's giving a bit of time. Oh, no! Has USA managed to keep that up?
Jenny Wei with an amazing layout grab. I was sure that disc was going to go down, Joy, and somehow she's gotten underneath it.
Absolutely. I thought that was actually, I'd given up on that disc myself, but good thing Jenny Wei did not. And she has pulled it into her possession, literally probably a centimetre from the ground. We're seeing this from Zhu again. Waiting, and then launches. Great form there, and just in for a goal.
So the Japanese, through Ishikawa, had taken a deep shot upwind there, and unfortunately the wind got just underneath it and floated over to her intended receiver to cause a turn, but I think that was still a good option, and the Japanese will continue to try to work it upwind. Let's go down to Huss.
Just a quick query for you guys. Do you think that that is where the American phrase, way to go, comes from?
It may be from now on, Huss. That could well be a team cry.
You can always rely on Claire Hussey to rip out some terrible puns, and way to go. She done it again. So the Japanese now back on offense, coming downwind through their central hander, Nakayama. Oh, an unfortunate drop. That was a laser-paced pass from Rina Ikeda.
Hansen getting going really quickly here. Gets the disc back. Quick move forward. USA really not wasting any time. They want this fast break. Oh, pushed one too many. Japan was ready for that one, darting out.
How's the power on Ella Hansen's flicks? She must have the most powerful forearm. They are an absolute laser that she can launch.
Very useful when throwing upwind, isn't it, Cole? And now we've got Hansen picking up. We're seeing the power of that flick to Runzo. Japanese defenders here, they are one-on-one, but they're marking up slightly behind their players.
Well,
they're dying.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. It was a well-timed decision. It looked a well-executed throw, and then the wind picked up, and oh wow, that looked like a strip to me, but obviously Rina Ikeda did not think that she had maintained possession, so
Maddie Gilbert. Maddie Gilbert here. Hansen launches it. We'll try to get there. Oh, that was going to be one hell of an ask, but Trope definitely made sure and ran to the point, but even out of her grasp.
So we've just seen the first overthrow upwind, and wouldn't you know it, it's Ella Hansen with that cannon that she's got attached to her right shoulder. She has punted that forehand upwind and somehow managed to overthrow Claire Trope. Oh, it's a backhand, beg your pardon. Either way, she has some serious power. It's a joy to watch her use it.
A lovely leading pass there.
Nicely controlled by Shiori Ogawa. She has sent it end zone, just outside the end zone, and a little dishy. Nicely done. Miwatajima puts the disc through, and the Japanese, after a couple of heart-in-mouth moments and a goal-saving block on their end zone line, have moved the disc downfield and scored again, and the score is 6-all. It continues to be a downwind game, though it's worth noting, if you're just joining us, that both teams have managed to score an upwinder, and there's been a break each way. So
we're seeing the Huck highlight, curved over the field, straight into the waiting hands of the Japanese player, Tajima, throwing the goal to Yoshida. Earlier in that possession, Japan setting up in a lovely clean structure. They often look for their inside-out breaks. So what that means for viewers out there who aren't so familiar with Frisbee terminology, they're looking to set up a space on the inside space side of the marker. They'll often look to hit that as their first option. In that case, they went around the marker instead. So throwing options here for the Japanese players.
So Maiko Ito with the pull, and the Japanese quick to set up their defense. It's a straight match D, one-on-one.
Douglas here to Normile. Normile puts it. It's hanging, and oh, just through the arms. That was really a tough one. Showed a bit of the underside of that disc to the waiting wind.
And Natsuki Nakata, she did not quite have the height to effect a block there, but she did the right thing and got in front of the offensive player and got an arm up there. And despite not hitting the disc, I think she certainly caused enough chaos to get a lot of credit for that D. And the Japanese, again, with control of the disc, they have shown a great ability to get the disc off the American offense. And if they keep this up, it's not out of the question that they could wrap this game up. It's within their capability. Slightly clumsy D attempt there, and then an unfortunate turnover from Ikazono.
Normal, backwards to Zhu. Oh, pushed down at the last minute. USA playing the team game there. So many strong players on this USA squad. Any one of them expert throwers. All of them seemingly very, very happy just to move the disc into another's hands in order to wait for that exactly right option. Japan here with offense.
The US defense doing a good job there of poaching off players to take away dangerous spaces from the Japanese J-stack setup. The Japanese have managed to move the disc laterally though, and create some open looks. The thrower does not have a mark, so she's capable of standing there all day if she likes. And a pick called. Pick called. I think the American is going to say that it did not affect the play too much. She just wanted to catch up. Good spirit. So Kato with the disc. Oh, great grab.
Nice.
Ikazono has uncorked a backhand. Look, there's some tall American defenders. It's going to take a miracle for a Japanese grip to get it. And
Bramovic does it again. Up high, Claire Thalen there also under the disc. And now Bramovic is busting long. Can the throwers see her? She's so wide open. Lovely throw there, giving Bramovic time to read it perfectly. Thalen looking for Zhu. All the US players in front of Zhu, not a problem. Douglas, vertical stack in the US end zone, back again to Zhu. Zhu seemingly able just to get the disc and offer that US reset whenever they need.
Pick in the stack. American player wide open, and her defender had been obstructed as they went through the stack.
Zhu here. Oh, pushes it a little bit wide.
So the Japanese game plan was to force the Americans to make a lot of lateral throws, and that they did, and it's worked. They have forced her D. As we see another shot deep, and Abramovic again credited with the D.
And Bramovic getting going quickly. Zhu ever ready and sends a lovely flattish flick to the end zone. Thalen good enough to get under it. Knowles here. Options everywhere to Douglas. And back to Knowles with an athletic grab. Wonderfully done. I really like that quick go to offense there after the D, and Bramovic getting things going. I think USA, that's a strategy that they often employ. They're obviously looking to make the most out of that quick transition from D to O. Nice work, USA. Let's cross to Huss. She's got a bit of an update for us.
Quick weather update down on the ground. During that point, there was a very, very strong sudden bluster that thrust my wide-brimmed hat off my head. It was just around the time that the US overcooked a swing and was pushed down. Said hat on my head right now, back in place. But yeah, just to keep you updated that it's no consistent wind down here. There's a lot of change, and the players are just having to cope with it as they go, ignore it as best they can, but handle it all the best. Back to you.
Thank you, Huss. And take care down there with that hat. It's very important in this hot, sunny weather as these teams take a time out to slip, slop, slap.
Yeah, great to hear that you are looking after that pasty white skin of yours, Huss. And might take this opportunity to quickly thank City Toyota in Netherlands. They provided a number of support vehicles for us to run this event. There's a huge tribe of volunteers and staff, and City Toyota have done a wonderful job in providing us with a bunch of Hi-Aces and Hiluxes to get us around, and we greatly appreciate it. So if you live in the Perth region and you're looking for a vehicle to get you around, we would love for you to give our friends at City Toyota Netherlands a visit and check out what they've got on the showroom floor. So the timeout is complete. The USA presently up 7-6, I think. And Japan now on offense coming downwind. And as Huss said, the wind is really unpredictable, and it's playing a huge role in this game, and the players' ability to cope with it is a sight to behold. That's a great upwind pull. And we will see Yuki Nakayama pick up and send her to Akita.
Oh, Hansen on the mark.
Akita again has looked to the end zone. That's a super tough read.
I cannot even believe that the Japanese player managed to get a hand on that disc. That was such a fast possession.
And
such a fast throw, coming over his shoulder. But anyway, another turnover after that.
Yeah, that was an amazing read, really. To even be in a catchable position for that throw was amazing. Oh! And what do you know it? An inside flick look. Just what the Japanese love to do. Nakayama with the throw. I didn't get a good look at her receiver, but I think it may have been Ashima.
What a highlight reel we're experiencing here, Cole. Yeah. Two high-level teams, the top of their abilities, coming together for this tournament.
That is a wonderful layout grab. And it is Shiori Ogawa who managed to bring that down. That was the same player with that incredible read on the deep shot. She obviously has a keen understanding of the flight of the disc and gecko hands for catching. That was a great grab. And so the score at 7-all. It's the somewhat controversially named Galaxy Point. Whoever wins this one takes half. The Americans started on serve, so the expectation would be that they'll get it. And if the Japanese are able to break them now, it's that crucial defensive break to take half, which gives you the opportunity to score twice in a row. So the Americans with it all to do here.
USA low pull, but gets quite a bit of distance there, so nice tactic there. Werfeli. Some ground gainers to start off the point. Here's Zhu. Schmaltz. Down the line flick, very close. The defender had a piece of it, but managed to hang on. And again, squeezing these throws out. Knowles good enough to hang on to it. Nice, stitching move. You must have seen how that disc suddenly dropped.
Yeah, the wind has picked up and it is an absolute gale now, so it's given the Japanese the disc. But I don't like their chances of being able to move up against it. It is absolutely howling.
Just want to chip in there on that, guys. The Japanese defender got a hand to that swing. It wasn't the wind that took that one down. She laid out and got a hand blocked just off the mark. Pretty impressive stuff.
Lovely, thanks, Huss. And the Japanese have got a spring in their step at the moment. Wouldn't it be exciting if they were able to force a break here and take half?
They're stringing together these smooth, slick passes here, Cole. Just looks like the breeze is no issue at all.
And a quick stoppage as, unfortunately, Hannah Henkin turned herself into a backpack momentarily for Shiori Ogawa. But Ogawa is okay. Disc is back in. And we are back underway. I look forward to seeing number one, Yoshida, with the disc in hand. She receives it now. And that is a risky look. Wow! If Werfeli had been looking, she could have peeled off for a poach block, but she was managing her own problems with the player in front of her, and that has given the Japanese an opportunity to break and take half. Unbelievable.
Very nicely done, Japan. The wind is as strong as one could imagine it down here, and you saw them stringing together a number of passes there like it was absolutely no issue. Well done there, Japan.
Days like today, Joy, I sometimes wonder if Discraft or Aria or Yukon discs, if they were to produce a 250-gram version of the disc we play with, perhaps we could have a captain's agreement before a very windy game to play with a slightly heavier disc. I know that my local league game is played in an area that can get quite windy, and sometimes we're almost unable to keep a handle on it. So
some highlights here from the first half. Here we saw Knowles. Oh, sorry. The highlights just from this point, and that's the point there that I think Huss on the sideline. Wow, and you saw that layout hand on the disc from the Japanese marker there.
And again, Kaede Yoshida, number 1, the captain of this team, and she is proving to be an unstoppable force in this game. She throws this goal, she forced the block, and absolutely unbelievable stuff. And the Americans, to their credit, immediately high-fiving each other after that point. They know that it makes it difficult for them, but as we said earlier, Joy, they know how to manage their mental game and use good body language, and you'd expect them to come out firing in the second half.
Yeah, we'll leave you with highlights just for a section. We'll come back with this exciting game after the halftime break.
Vibing on myself, I can't trust fake energy. Yeah, I'm hella ill, I swear that it's my destiny. Kamikaze, catching bodies, cause it kage, what you mean? Right, yeah, okay. Vibing on myself, I can't trust fake energy. Yeah, I'm hella ill, I swear that it's my destiny. Kamikaze, catching bodies, cause it kage, what you mean? Right, yeah. Hey, young dude with a nice face. On the port through, that's the eye face. Got things to do, damn screw, brain food, that dude send nudes over my space. Face root clean on some water, ayy. Shorty pump spread, that's your daughter, ayy. So I'm in the mood like skirt, but she wanna flirt. After she heard, now I'm the dude that she's after. Cannot blame her, I'm dapper. How come no one was feeling me back when I was a rapper? Back when Roshi was master, coming hard on the dicker. Please don't mess with my fingers, I'm counting wins with my fingers. Now I'm a sight, but I'm killer. Cosky clan chillin' villas, pocket juice like I'm Chancellor. My flow like honey, go figure. Junkie tripping of life, like mix it up with the dirty. Poppin' Skittles with Sprite and attitude like don't touch me. Happy thoughts and pinky rings, only brighter things. Money talks when you're feeling greed. Satisfy their needs. Pull up skirt and hop on the beat. Pull up on your turf, energy got me feeling clean. Holy water scene vibes, bump and grind it. Yeah, don't you stop it. Yeah, I'm seeing changes, but I haven't even started. Yeah, get low and pop it. Yeah, and don't you stop it. Yeah, I'm feeling different, but because I'm low key popping. Yeah, vibing on myself, I can't trust fake energy. Yeah, I'm hella ill, I swear that it's my destiny. Kamikaze, catching bodies, cause it kage, what you mean? Yeah, okay. Vibing on myself, I can't trust fake energy. I get what you mean, right? Yeah, right, yeah.
Welcome back to the second half of this thrilling matchup between Japan and the USA. And this game could have immense ramifications for the rest of this tournament. There are 11 teams in the women's division at the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships in 2018. And as a result, that means that pool play is a full round robin. Every team plays 10 games against every other team. The top 4 after that round robin goes straight into the semis. And if Japan are able to take a win over the USA here, that is going to make for a very interesting final set of games as 6 teams try to crash into those last 4 spots. We've got the USA and Canada presently undefeated, though the USA is definitely under threat here. And then the Japanese, German, and Colombian and Australian teams have all performed very well and shown that they could be deserving of a spot in the semi-finals. And if the Japanese are able to claw back a win here after they lost on a thrilling universe point game to Australia and then another even more thrilling universe point game to Canada, if they're able to take a win off the US here, that will have enormous ramifications for the rest of the tournament. So they begin the second half on offense, going downwind. And anything could happen at this point as Hansen rips the pull. Yuki Nakayama picks up, crosses to Rina Ikeda. A very familiar handler combination. And there is Kaede Yoshida, the captain, and dare I say it, the heart and soul of this team. Can the Japanese employ their Gyan offense?
Wow, Yoshida has such pace out of that stack.
Wow! Oh no, it's a fumble in the end zone. Shiori Ogawa electing to send a backhand straight over the top of the American defender, and unfortunately for her, Maiko Ito took a couple of bites at the cherry but wasn't able to secure it, so the Americans with the disc.
Hansen looking for it. She's got the disc now. US players are already quite long. Trope here. USA are going upwind here.
Violation called by Trope. I think there was a fast count and possibly a little bit of communication difficulties here with the language barrier. Nope, they've resolved it well. And the disc is back in.
Oh, Trope with the forehand, but Japan comes from behind. Layout block there.
Shiori Ogawa got full extension on that layout block. And the Japanese in their familiar J-stack as Yoshida goes digging to secure this disc. She has Nakayama offering a backward dump. That opens up the lateral spaces. Ikeda around to Yoshida and the other Yoshida. Oh wow! Was that a hand block, I think, or perhaps just a miscue?
Wasn't quite a hand block. Hansen able to stick out the hand and affect the D.
Normile, unfortunately, a victim of the wind. She got a hand to that disc, but not a grip. So, can the Americans figure out this Japanese J-stack? They've done well here. Yoshida not as able to get as open as she has been. The Japanese are right on the doorstep here, though. That was a hand block.
That was a hand block from about 1.5 meters away. Highlight there from Maddie Gilbert. US take it quite quickly. Got Thalen there. to Douglas. Normile. Hansen. Power there to Trope. Hansen bobbles, but safely in the hands. Japanese defenders here, just in behind their players, pays off for now.
Great read by Maiko Ito. She saw the wind getting under that disc and was able to predict early where it would land. Positioned herself with the best opportunity. So Akagi now. Akagi through to Ogawa. Ogawa has 3 assists in this game. I beg your pardon, 3 goals in this game so far. And I think we have a pick called, but the Americans have agreed that it did not affect the play of the disc, and so it stays with Yoshida. Nice grab.
You're seeing so many Japanese players getting down super low. That one was super tough, but you see how the disc has been pushed down for the Japanese offense there. You'll see it puff up here for the Americans as they work upwind. Normile, full stretch, sticky hands. Resetting, popping over the top. Douglas chasing it.
Douglas got an extra metre or 2 with an accidental mac forwards there.
Hansen here. Normile. USA being incredibly patient. Oh! That disc was a little wide, but as the Japanese player dived, maybe a touch of contact.
Let's see if we can hear the discussion here.
Okay, take your time. Are you okay?
Can I ask what you think?
Yeah, I think it was out of your reach, even if you were not fouled.
Okay.
Because you were already in the air, so it's not like you could boost your speed or anything. Yep.
Okay, so
foul's retracted.
Yeah, no foul. Okay.
That's wonderful spirit. Great job, Maddie Gilbert. I love to see a player. She took the opportunity to think about it. In the heat of the moment, it can be hard to know what went on. And she's obviously a bit rocked by that impact with the ground. And I think the game advisor offered the same perspective that I would have in that case. I think that it was a great bid from Gilbert, but the disc was a little too far away. And whether there was or wasn't contact, it didn't seem to me like she was going to get possession. And she's been rewarded for her honesty with an immediate turnover from the Japanese.
Yep, very nice to see there. Ultimate being self-officiated. Game advisors are there and can be consulted for their opinion if asked. So a couple of quick turnovers here. From that one from Japan. Bit of toing and froing near to our near sideline. Knowles now looking to take a deep breath, reset the American offense. Oh, my apologies, Japan here.
That was a very low disc, and we've uncorked a long shot. It's landed in the lap of Yoshida, and you'd have to say that fortune favors the brave there. That was not the best throw I've ever seen, and Yoshida really rolling the dice because that disc could have landed anywhere. The wind had total control over it, but the Japanese have managed to gain themselves 30 or 40 meters without much strategy to it, and they've called a timeout. Let's head down to Hussey on the sideline.
I was having a little wander around at halftime, having just a little look at the sideline stuff, and I stumbled across the US area where they've got their bags and their water bottles and that sort of thing. And much to my surprise, I actually mistook it for the Japanese bags because they're in such absolute order. They've got all of their bags in a row. They might even be in number order, which struck me as something that the Japanese team might be more likely to do. I'm wondering if they're maybe trying to adapt their overall approach to the game to be a little bit more organised, like the traditional thing we see from the Japanese culture. And perhaps the Japanese, I had a look at their bags, they're not in any sort of order, they're in a bit of a clump. Maybe they're just trying to relax a bit more, take a little leaf out of the US book. Who knows?
interesting observation, Huss, and it's funny you say that because I made exactly the same mistake as I walked towards the commentary booth. I thought I'd found the Japanese home with their well-ordered bags and was very surprised to see USA written on them. So, the Americans have adapted well to the Japanese J-stack setup, and they have been able to cut off a lot of the Japanese movement. Oh, wow. The wind is playing havoc as the lefty, Maiko Ito,
pick.
and a pick called in the stack. Yoshida is like the Energizer Bunny. She's always moving, always threatening, and she's not a player that you can force to a particular area of the field because she is damaging everywhere she goes. And an incredible look inside backhand, but unable to be secured. The Americans are back in possession.
Hansen picks up straight away. US looking to gain some ground before Japan gets settled. That's Trope here with the disc. Hansen. Touch as well as power on her throws. Douglas.
The US
Strick.
really moving it well here. Wouldn't they love to force an upwind break? And Douglas, that's unfortunate. It was not a bad pass from Hansen, but Douglas just bobbled the disc in this wind. And this point turning into a bit of an epic, Joy.
Yes, definitely. That was excellent movement there from the US. Oh! Oh!
Trope has busted to the end zone. Normile chooses not to launch it.
Resets now, Hansen. Back to Trope. Trope getting a lot of the disc this point. Tricky swing, it's going to be running the bank over that side of the field. Fallon. Strick. Play moving from one side of the field to the other here. Hansen offers a little reset.
She wasn't looking to gain any yards there, Joy. She just wants the disc in her hands.
Absolutely. The disc moving so up and down, and well done there, Normile. Well done, USA. You could see the disc moving up and down through its flight as well as toward its intended recipient. Receivers there having to be super vigilant, reactive, just in order to make a simple catch, well, what would be simple in other conditions, but goal USA. And this match could not be closer. Played at such intensity. The standard of these players is super high, and I have to say the spirit of the game is super high at the moment as well.
Certainly, Joy, and that creates, look at this catch from Normile, who then throws a high release, flip backhand, upwind, and lands it on right on top of Trope. No problem there. So that gets back a break for the US, but of course, because the Japanese took half having started on defense and then held their first offensive point, in a sense, they had 2 breaks advantage. So the US still, they're even, level pegging, Japanese on offense, but the Japanese with a massive left to right wind to work up against. So you wouldn't think that this game's likely to trade out from here at some point, whether it be this one or the next. It's likely that someone's going to get another downwind break as Werfele sends the pull down and the Japanese are underway.
The wind here is absolutely roaring across. You might be able to hear it affecting the audio on the stream. Players doing their absolute best to not let it affect the throws and catches. Yoshida sends it. That's a backhand towards the end zone. Oh, it's fluffing up so much.
Oh! Wow. Yoshida was trapped at a high stall count there. There was not much she could do. She needed to release the disc before getting stalled out, so she just launched it.
And there you'll see exactly how the wind can play havoc. Zhu, a very polished, accomplished thrower, and even then, even she was affected there. The wind here is not just strong cold, it's blustery and unpredictable. Up here, the commentators are about 3 meters up in the air, but for the players at ground level, There's a raised hill you can kind of see in your vision. The wind comes off that hill and blasts up and down as it reaches the ground level.
Yeah, really diabolical conditions at the moment for these players. And we have a debate about as to whether or not the toe was on the line or inbounds when the disc was secured.
Do you speak English?
I think her foot was on the line.
Translator!
I thought she cut it on the line.
So,
I have
on
a
the line
perspective.
is out of bounds.
Yeah, what did you think?
I think the toe was on the line when the catch was taken. That's how it looked to me.
Okay, so then that means it's out.
Can you translate, please?
Okay, so
I think her toe was on the line when she took the catch. I believe so.
Which
I was on the
means it's
line,
out.
which would be
オン
out.
ラインだと思うけど別に従う必要はないからど
But
う
she
思う
she can still contest if she feels.
入ってた
That
と思った。She thinks she is in the
okay, so it's contested.
yeah
But
contest.
he,
Yeah,
he had
it's-
best. Do you
it's-
think you'd?
She's allowed to contest it. She has two perspectives and her own.
Wait,
She
no, I
didn't.
understand. I understand. You have the final call. I'm just making sure she understands
Okay.
that he had a good perspective on it and thought it was on.
なんですね。だからコンテストする入ってるって思うんだよねっていうこと。Yeah, she thinks
Okay,
Okay.
it's contested. Let's
So
go.
it goes back.
Yes.
It's coming back.
It's
So,
contested.
I absolutely loved what we heard from Werfeli there. She handled that situation really, really well. That is fantastic spirit and a great example of how trust between the players can allow us to officiate games at the highest level really effectively. That's great from Werfeli.
Yeah, nicely done, Werfeli. Game advisor role is significantly different to that of observers. Sometimes can be a bit to get used to, but well resolved there. Japan very quick here with the disc. A few quick throws. USA elevating in the end zone to prevent that goal. A quick bust long. Strong hands there from Kramer. Looking for Zhu. Reset back. A USA cutter has gone extremely deep. Oh, snatched in front of the player by Schmaltz.
Pick called.
So it's a pick call? Yes.
So Yoshida was
Where's your
unable
count?
to follow Kramer to the position, and she felt that impeded her ability to affect the play, so the disc goes back.
Oh,
And the tense nature of this game, Joy, continues to build.
definitely an 8-all. It's been tight the whole way, Cole, and I think as the scores build, that tension is only going to increase. Game to 15 here at the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. Yoshida.
I could not be more impressed with Yoshida's play. She is absolutely elite with every aspect of the game. As the Japanese are knocking on the door, Werfeli has been sold a tummy there. That was a wonderful fake from Rina Akita.
A few picks creeping into play, but nothing deliberate about this. Quickly resolved here. Japan about 15, 20 metres outside the front of their end zone. They're going upwind.
Another pick. I think exhaustion starting to play a part. This has been quite a long point, and it comes on the back of another very long point. This game is playing at a very high intensity as Yoshida fakes the end zone look. Oh, fabulous catch from Rina Akita. She had a trailing edge grab at that as Yoshida lays out to secure the disc. This is a wonderful shot to the end zone. It's a goal! Shiogashima hits the stats sheet for the first time. That is an upwind score to Japan. They maintain the lead, 9-8, and the USA now have to bring their offense on field to go upwind.
How unstoppable was Yoshida there? Got a lot of the disc. Full extension layout catch there. making sure of it near the end zone. You don't want to waste possession of that disc at any time, let alone in such a tight match when you're on the brink of securing an upwind goal. Bit of a highlight from that last point. Here's Yoshida's catch.
Did well not to lose possession of the disc when she hit the ground with an almighty thud and then lasers in a backhand to the end zone for her teammate Shio Ginshima to register another score for the Japanese, who lead this matchup 9-8. The wind, just for a moment, has died down a little, and that plays right into the USA's hands as they are down the downwind end of the field, and if they were to lose a break now, you'd think that would put them under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, slightly cooler day here, still windy. Finals day at this tournament is Saturday, and it's scheduled for 37 degrees on Saturday. I wonder if the wind will still be up on that day, but it's very well up at the moment.
That disc has landed out of play, so the USA can elect to either take it at the sideline, which Hansen looks to be doing. Because it landed out of play, she could have moved to the brick mark if she'd chosen. Japanese slow to set up their defense, and that's allowed the Americans to get moving quickly.
With Landry to Wei. And now they're 15 metres outside their end zone. Werfley busting up the ground. Hansen. A very, very accomplished inside-out forehand there for the goal. Sliced it through. I hope you at home were able to see the angle with which Hansen was able to execute that throw to her receiver. Delightfully done.
Hansen's throwing power in these conditions really is something to behold. She is capable of putting extreme rotation on the disc. She has wrist snap to burn, and that gives her the ability to send out throws which remain stable in flight all the way through to their intended receiver. Look at that inside-out flick. It is a rocket. And Ella Hansen is absolutely central to this US team. Her power is something that any team at this tournament would love to have on their side. What a thrower.
And I'm really, really enjoying, Cole, this contrast of styles between the USA and the Japanese teams. Each team playing so differently, the highest level for their respective teams, but it's a matchup that I think, to my mind, always delivers on the world stage. We've seen so many wonderful Japan v USA matchups, particularly in the women's division over the years, but in other divisions as well. Very memorable games, and this one is no exception. 9-all here. Just looking for, we're going to have a repull from the USA. They were maybe a bit offside.
And that is their second transgression for offside. And I believe that means the Japanese are allowed to start from the middle of the field. And given the upwind nature of this point, that is a major advantage for them. So the US have paid dearly. The Japanese setting up at midfield to bring this point underway.
Zone defense here from USA. We've got Trope on the mark. USA playing a zone D. Players marking an area. You can see 4 or 5 players near the disc, putting pressure on these Japanese throwers, forcing them to throw a large number of throws. And in this win, that's an added challenge.
So the US trying to trap the Japanese on this sideline, and the only way out is to move backwards. And they've started at midfield. They're all already now behind their own brick mark. If this continues for much longer, they'll be in their own end zone.
And indeed, they are almost there, Cole. What an effective zone D here from USA. They're pushing the Japanese players not only backwards, but towards this sideline close to our cameras.
Yoshida's going to uncork a backhand for territory here. Oh, and the disc has just been caught by the wind, just as Miwa Tajima was trying to catch it. The wind picked up and moved it away from her. You can't blame Yoshida for sending that disc.
Awadelkaram here gets that moving straight to the center of the field. When the disc is in the center, everything's much easier. Awadelkaram again, and oh! What a catch from Vizhu. Centering to Normile. That zone was such a... Maybe that was just a strip. Uncontested there by the looks. Vaju, Normile. Lovely touch there, throwing downwind. So easy to have that disc just bullet down, uncatchable. Very catchable. And the goal there to Vaju. And I think that was a very smart move there from the USA. We haven't seen a lot of zone at all defensively in this match, and they chose that right at this moment. And even though it was an offside pull, they pushed the Japanese team backwards, and the goal for the USA right after that. Let's have a quick chat to Huss.
Yeah, I thought I've never seen a team so organised that they have affected the rule where 2 pull violations results in moving the disc to the middle of the field, and it's an absolutely legitimate thing to do. The game advisors signal when the pull is offside, but not many teams are organised enough to note that and to make it a part of their game, to punish something that they've seen from another team. And I thought it might pay off for them there, but the US, equally organised, had a good plan, decided to change their defensive strategy to a zone, and that organisation ended up paying off for them.
Thank you, Huss. Yeah, you might often see the game advisors signal offside, but you're absolutely right. The teams themselves have to affect that ruling if they choose to. Offside, of course, meaning that a player or more than one player has crossed that front line of the end zone before the pull is released. That all looks quite legal there for this pull. This is a pick called.
So we have Yoshida with the disc. This is Sayori Yoshida. And the Japanese sticking with their trusty J-stack offense. And finally, Yoshida to Yoshida.
I love Yoshida's fakes there, Cole. Moving the marker.
As we have a shot to the end zone. It's going to sit in the wind, but Ella Hansen's height is telling. And she has managed to force a D over the top of Miwatajima.
Hansen says, I'll take this disc, thanks, and why not? She has got the skills to control this US offense. Little dump reset there. The disc moving to the center of the field, always the strongest position. Hansen.
And a pick call. We saw Shio Ganshima was impeded. So she's called a pick, 1 throw back.
Didn't affect the play, so it's right here with Gilbert. Hansen busting up the line, gets the disc. Knowles faking in the lane, and unbelievably managed to reel that in. That disc died suddenly, but she launched herself forward. What a catch, Werfeli. Another pick.
I think that was the first miscue we've seen from Hansen with the disc in hand. That was the first of her throws we've seen fluttering in the wind. And fortunately for her, Knowles able to get low and scoop it up.
Players just trying to work out what the disc is going to be coming back on and where they were when that pick or stoppage was affected. Werfeli to Hansen, launches it. Disc is in the air and hanging nicely. And read very nicely by Piper Curtis there. Had a long time to sit under that disc and think about it, but was moving with purpose the whole time. Eyes on that disc. Goal to USA. That's 2 in a row now for USA with the upwinder.
And Kaeda Yoshida has finally proven that she is human. And I think the Japanese could not have chosen another player they would have preferred to be contesting that deep contest. And she wasn't able to get the read, wasn't able to get the position, and the USA banking another score. And Yoshida surely now getting tired. She has played the vast majority of these points in a very high intensity game, and she has been anchoring the Japanese team on field that entire time. It's been an incredible performance, and I wonder if the Japanese need to start to use a little more of their list to get this done. The American coaches talked about having faith in the full depth of your roster, and we've seen that in the players that have taken the field for them today. The Japanese using a slightly more restricted roster, and that may tell later in the game.
The disc moving through many, many pairs of USA players' hands. Both teams here having rosters over 20 players, so definitely adequate numbers. Low flat pull there from Vaju. USA, will they pull their zone defense out again? And it looks like they are. So many players close to the disc with these windy conditions. That's a very aggressive zone. There may be options further away, but with this wind, they're incredibly risky.
So I wonder if Japan needs to start implementing some give and go runs through the cup. So one way to advance the disc through a zone offense is to catch the disc while you're in motion and use the yards you gain as you slow down to slowly move your team forward. And Japan at the moment unable to find a path to move the disc through the cup. So perhaps they need to use their bodies. They've done a nice job moving it laterally there.
Nice camera angle you're seeing here with all of the players and the structure of the zone.
And they're starting to do well now, finding little holes in the cup. And good use of voice there by the Japanese to make sure that they did not interfere with each other. They're starting to use the width of the field, and that opens up new angles, which permits them to slice those forward thrusts through the cup.
US pressure here, clamping down again. You saw Japan get an incisive throw through, but USA good enough to regroup. Now they're stuck on this very difficult sideline.
So Japan calling double team. Only one player is allowed within 3 meters of the person with the disc. And the American defenders...
I think the call there was not a throw, i.e. even though there's no restriction on the minimum distance of a throw, the disc does need to leave one pair of hands completely before it enters another.
The reaction of the Japanese players suggested they knew what had happened. The question now, what is the rule if the disc is handed to a teammate?
Just seeing a little replay here. Incredibly hard to see.
I hate to admit my ignorance, but I actually don't know the rule. If the throw is not released, it's certainly not a valid pass, and the rule is that it's a turnover.
Still a bit of discussion here going on.
She thinks it wasn't. It
handoff.
wasn't the handoff.
Did you see it?
It did look a bit like a handover to me. Yeah, but if they are certain that it was released, then it's
The Japanese team have some assistants within their ranks for interpreting the discussion.
okay.
They don't all speak as good English as the Americans, so it's good to see they've brought someone along to help.
Thanks, Huss.
Okay, this is taking too long. We need a result.
He said
But he's just advised.
This is taking too long.
What we saw.
If we cannot agree, then it's contested. So it comes back here. It's contested. It's contested.
Okay.
It's contested. It's taking too long. It's
Also,
contested.
game advisors to keep discussion moving.
What is your store count?
I don't know what was that.
And so we've got, you heard Steve Baker there, the game advisor, back with Japan with a contested call.
So, personally, I didn't love that resolution, but what I would say about that event was that Tulsa Douglas conducted herself with great integrity throughout that discussion. And I love to see that spirit shown on the field.
A high launch here. Vaju camped underneath it.
Oh my goodness! You wouldn't have predicted that in 1,000 years. Yukiko Akagi comes down with a disc that was contested with Jacqueline Verjus standing right next to her.
And the US zone has evaporated after that pack of players forming. They've come back out after the Japanese catch in match, but Japan has thrown it straight to US player there. Douglas now, they're able to get going straight away. And Bramovic runs and then launches. Has she given it enough space for Vishu to run into it?
That disc seeming to hover and hover and hover.
You could see Vishu there, running full pelt, almost falling over, able to launch, but too far. That disc moving downwind.
That was quite a phenomenal throw. The wind looked like it had taken it well out of the reach of any valid receivers, and yet right at the end of its flight, it seemed to hover in the air, and Vishu tantalizingly close to bringing in that goal. So the Japanese with it all to do again, facing this formidable US zone. They've got some very tall bodies forming that cup, and the Japanese needing to use the width of the field as much as they possibly can. At the moment, they are buried deep in their own end zone, and it wouldn't surprise me to see one of them launch a downfield huck just for... Oh!
Through a few pairs of hands there. Japan lucky and reading it quite well. Slicing forehand huck. Vishu perhaps tapped that down. Awadelka rim. Vishu on the sideline.
Oh, that's a lovely bid. Shiori Ogawa giving everything for this team.
Awadelka rim to Douglas. On that away sideline now. Bit more space in that offense. Vishu. Oh, and the Japanese play coming through. A high layout block. And who is it, Cole?
It is Kaede Yoshida, #1. She is putting in a performance for the ages here.
What a highlight reel Kaede Yoshida is. That Japanese player looked like she was lining up for all love and money, just hoik it as far as she could, and decided to stay cool. Nicely through there, Yoshida. This zone is clamping down. It's not just the physical pressure of the zone with number of throws, but often the mental pressure. You look up, you see 4 or 5 opposition faces and bodies close to you. It all starts to pay a mental toll, but Japan here, cool and slicing.
And they've done it! And they've done it! Kaede Yoshida, who has been catching and throwing goals all day, adds another stat to her list, hitting Yukiko Wakagi in the end zone, and the Japanese, after an absolutely epic point, have finally managed to move the disc upwind and score.
Well, and Japan love that point. And I love that point. That makes it 10 Japan, USA 11. Again, making this game as tight could be. And that was an impressive upwinder.
That layout block that we've just framed from Yoshida, she is an athletic phenom. And yet again, despite having played every point that I can remember so far, she must have been on the ground for at least 7 or 8 points in a row now, and continuing to dominate this game. This is an incredible performance, and finally, the Japanese sending out a line with Yoshida on the sideline. She's earned herself a well-earned rest.
Japan here full of beans. Defensive line, they're ready.
The wind not as strong as it has been, but as we've learned so far, that's no guarantees that we can expect it to stay that way for the rest of the point. Anything can happen here with the Fremantle Doctor.
Zhu here to Schmaltz. She was isolated and managed to get quite free of her defender. Forward to Wei. To Zhu. Oh, Nguyen here with a disc. Happy birthday for yesterday, Ni Nguyen. Elevated there for a nice catch. Zhu, and smoothly done from US. Gosh, they were cool as the other side of the pillow there, Cole. It was like the wind did not exist.
Yeah, that was a very smooth offensive point from the US, and they're happy with it. I've been flipping my pillow periodically all night here, Joy. It's been pretty warm in Perth.
You're such a pillow flipper, Cole. I've always thought so.
I don't know if that's an insult or not.
As we see the replay there, lovely touch on the backhand, Angela Zhu, keeping it down, hits her receiver right in that catching zone. That's what you want.
I'm sure it's not news to any of our watchers to learn what an incredibly composed thrower Angela Zhu is, the most recent Callahan winner, and she is an incredible athlete and an incredible thrower. Hello everybody, this is our commentary booth, and we go down to Huss for some insight from the sideline.
I'm just here feeling so into this game. It's so gripping, it's so enjoyable, it's so incredible, and I'm just feeling really happy that Ultimate Frisbee is a part of my life, part of your lives, everyone watching. If you ever get a chance to get down to a high-level tournament, come near to the sideline, not too close, don't want to get in anyone's way, but it's definitely worth it for games like these. This is absolutely a maximum pleasure moment for me. Just wanted to share my joy back up to you guys.
Thanks, Huss. I'm feeling the love. This sport offers so much to so many. It's unique in so many ways. It has superstars like Yoshida, who has just moved the disc up to Yuka Kawakagi. And the Japanese looking pretty confident against this wind. And why wouldn't you with that woman on the field? I want to be more like her. Wow, that's a phenomenal diving grab attempt from Shiori Ogawa.
Hansen straight away to Trope. Oh. Moving with intent there, US. As they felt the excitement. They had got the turnover there. Looked to strike long with the downwind direction. Just a little bit too far.
And just to go back to your point, Huss, I really do agree. This sport is an incredible testament to humanity. And I personally am so grateful to be a part of it. And look forward to many more years to come. And I'm sure we'll see many more years of these athletes currently on the field. This is the Under-24s World Championship, and they will continue to grow and mature as players, as we see Kaede Yoshida laying out yet again. And the US with an opportunity to put this into the end zone through Awad El Karim.
Awad El Karim, one of the two spirit captains on this US team. As Hansen got a hand to that one. Tricky one, but Japan here about halfway to work it into the upwind end zone. Can they do what they did a couple of points ago?
So Saori Yoshida.
There's a pick stoppage.
She is one of 3 Yoshidas on this team. So the pick was unaffected the play, so the disc stays with Akagi.
It's the ruling here, unlike
Yoshida to Yoshida. Oh, what a layout grab!
For the upwind goal.
Shiori Ogawa, wow, that was phenomenal. 2 low bullets off the flick side, and the Japanese have managed to punch it in for a score. That takes them to 11. The USA is still in control on 12. And if the wind picks up, the USA will have a great 8 defenders to work their way up against this field. 7 wearing Japanese colours, and 1 blowing in from the Indian Ocean.
Yoshida perhaps involved again there. It was hard to see who was the assist. Yep, Yoshida throwing the goal. And it may sound as though we're going on about Yoshida, but for the first point, she truly is a phenomenal athlete in all aspects of this game. But it also must be pointed out, all players here playing at a superbly high level. It's a team game after all. And you can see the disc moving through many pairs of hands here. 2 of these top teams going extremely deep down their rosters. tight here with Japan 11, USA 12.
So Japan setting up to pull. They're on defense as the wind is certainly not as strong as it has been, but still blustering. But seemingly now scores going from right to left on our screen are more accessible now than they were at the beginning of this match. And it will be interesting to see if the Japanese are able to put a stop to the American progress on this point. That's a huge pull.
And Japan sprinting down as well. Werfelita Zhu.
Japan running a junk defense now, so they're setting up a zone of their own. And it will be interesting to see how the Americans react to that. And looking like they've collapsed now back to a match D, one-on-one.
Knowles, their zone-ish structure looks a little bit looser than the American version that you saw a few points ago. And anyway, they've gone now to a very tight match defense. Japanese players here setting up, a little bit of contact, but still live, setting up behind their players and looking to make up the ground and perhaps accelerate and get some of those diving blocks that we saw. For now, the disc is moving to Zhu.
And a minor overthrow. So, imagine if the Japanese could force a break here, where the scores would be level again. Looks like there might be a discussion going on field. Or perhaps just some tactics being called. In any event, this is certainly not a timeout, so the USA can request that Japan get things moving along. Yoshida getting high to bring that one down. She plays tall despite her relatively short stature, and finally a mistake from the Japanese superstar, unable to find Akita.
Zhu picks up quickly. Wants to just back again, gets it, and sends that long to Knowles. Knowles has a bit of time and does well. Timeout called. Knowles there read it extremely well, kept her body underneath that disc, able to box out her opponent should she have come near. Took it very high. Nicely done there, Knowles. The USA decide to take a bit of time and plan their approach into this upwind end zone with 10 points to their name, to Japan's 11. This is, of course, another key point to add if they can.
And Joy, at 106 minutes now, we're over the time cap. Look at this grab from Yoshida. That is wonderful. As we see this upwind punt from Angela Zhu and Sophie Knowles making no mistake. And she's quick to call a timeout, so the disc will be coming back in at stall 1.
What I love about the approach of these teams, Colin, we talked about the team approach that USA are particularly proud of, that they've mentioned again and again. Individual athletics and highlights, they will always be part of the sport of ultimate, but here they're celebrated as part of the team effort. And everything done, they're always thinking of the team first, and those special individual highlights adding the spice on top.
Absolutely. So the US as a team will be hoping to capitalize here as Sophie Knowles, casual as you like, a quick lefty backhand flip to Werfelita for the score.
Japanese defenders waving their arms, and they might be calling for...
The American sideline literally running back off the field now. They realise that the goal had not been confirmed by all concerned. And Joy,
oh, that's too bad. If they're defender, it's their defender's responsibility to check. Because someone can talk.
So the discussion here is, were all the players ready when the disc was tapped in? And the game advisor's advice is that because the disc was tapped in by the Japanese, they have accepted responsibility in a sense.
They said the defense wasn't set, but she checked it in. So it should have.
But at first, the offense has to stop.
Cole, with 108 minutes on the time clock, moved to 109.
It's this person's responsibility to make sure her defending team is ready.
Oh, okay.
So if she checks it in, then it is in play.
Did they call violation on the movement? No. Well, they called violation on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I saw that their person checked it before the defense was set, but the offense was already set. So that would mean they were supposed to check with.
Yeah, I believe the offense was set, and the defense was setting, and then she checked it in.
Yeah, she checked it.
So she checked in means offense has stopped.
Well, they were set, and she is supposed to check with her teammates before checking in. She didn't check, just checked in, so it is in play. So the score should stand according to those rules.
ゆっこがチェックした時点でオフェンスがストップしてるっていう風に見なされてるっていうか。
We need to resolve this quickly.
ゆっこがこうインした時にのあれで。
I think under the situation outlined by the game advisor, we should see this score stand. Let's hope.
It's a game to 13 here. We're over 100 minutes, so if that goal stands, that would be game USA, I believe.
Or if you're contesting the play, it goes back.
Obviously a critical discussion happening here.
What is happening?
いや、日本側がそのどっちにするのかを決断がある。決断の権利がある。
Quickly, please.
Okay, yeah, but she's thinking on the question.
Yes.
But if she tapped it in, there's no real
If she tapped it, yeah, that's right. The rule say if she's checked it in,
ルール
it's
と
in
して
play.
はそのマーカーの人がストリングがチェックした時点でゲームがスタートしてそれがオフェンスがチェックなんていうちゃんとチェックしたっていう証にはなるっていう。
Those are whistles from Game Advisor indicating this discussion has gone on for quite some time.
Yeah, she's checked in.
Yes. Okay. So the goal stands?
Yeah.
That's the right outcome. It's heartbreaking for the Japanese, but they've made the right call there. And that's a devastating outcome for them. And it's great to see that despite the difficulty of that situation, they were able to come to the right decision. And the game advisors providing the right advice on that occasion. And the USA coming away with a well-deserved win. Joy, what an absolutely gripping contest that was.
Yeah, Cole, you can see the disappointment there on the Japanese faces and in their body attitudes. They would be disappointed not to have got a little closer, even though that game was super close all the way. Bit of a dispiriting end, but credit to both these teams. It was such a display of amazing ultimate. Hopefully the Japanese team can take some heart from their performance here. I really think if these two teams get the chance to match up again, it will be a super close game, and I wouldn't put it past Japan to win that next matchup.
Oh, I totally agree, Joy. And Japan have had really quite a dispiriting tournament for them. They've played incredible ultimate, and they've certainly gone as close as anyone has so far to beating the mighty United States, and they went down on an absolutely thrilling universe point matchup with Australia. They went down on an absolutely thrilling universe point matchup with Canada, and they've gone down now having given the US the strongest competition that anybody has so far. And so whilst they may not end up with the result they'd hoped for at this tournament, I think they can hold their heads high based on the standard of their play. It has been an absolute joy to watch.
Some replays here from the game we've just seen. Amazing game.
That was a big D from Tulsa Douglas in the end zone to save a score.
Early looks of the Japanese structure, the J stack, as Cole mentioned. Big defensive block there. That one from Jenny Wei.
Yeah, I think the story of this game was the wind. It played a role in almost every single point, and it allowed teams to force their opposition into throws they didn't want to make, like that one. And it allowed for some incredibly spectacular catching and Ds, as we've seen. So this game ends with the USA the victors. They remain undefeated in this championship so far. They win this game against Japan 13-11. We'd like to thank our sideline commentator, Claire Hussey, and from myself, Cole Fink, and my co-commentator, Joy Lee. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
she don't know you. You came with a friend, she brought one too. What you might gain or what you might lose, the scales all on one side, so what you gon' do? The world's a stage, so make your move. This is food for thought, so eat that fruit. You're looking at her, she looking at you, but everybody else is looking at her too. What you gon' say, what you gon' do? Don't be too rough, don't act too smooth. Just be yourself and you can't lose. She just finished her drink, so go buy two. I don't